It's the Monday Night Results Show. Just the results, and nothing but the results. From this past weekend's race at your favorite racetracks, if you're looking for a lot of happy talk and fluff, tune into the Disney Channel. And now, the man with a mind for statistics. Unfortunately, those statistics are usually odds on the ponies in Vegas. Mitch, the Dr. Walker.
All right, welcome back. It's the Monday Night Results Show. We're going to do what we can to get this in. It is it's been a very, very tough night. Got a lot of power going out around here, so we were almost late getting the show on. But hey, we are here. We are revved up, and we are ready to go tonight on the show. Now, I want to kick the show off like we do each and every week with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're working really hard to make it through this. There are just now getting my computer rebooted, sitting here getting ready for the show, and poof, it went dark. But we got a great show lined up tonight. We're going to be doing some results. We're going to be talking about Father's Day, talking a little bit about tire rules. There is some tire rules that have been called into question here lately. And we're going to be talking about a little bit of those. We have got the legendary Bill Blair is going to join us in the second half of the show. Going to be talking about how to fix NASCAR. And I think between him and I, we have the magic situation. So you don't want to miss that. I know that we're also going to be talking a little bit here in just a little bit about a cause that is very near and dear to my heart, and that's PTSD. We have had a few drivers come on and talk about it. Joel Willman is one of them, Joel Willman Racing. He has come on the show, and we talked at length about PTSD. We have another one that we're going to be talking a little bit. I think it's a great cause, and they are working very hard to bring awareness of PTSD to the forefront so that more people are aware of it. Also, I want to say that for all the people in Orlando, our prayers are with you. All I can think about is hate the sin, love the sinner, you know. It is what it is, but this country is under attack, whether people realize it or whether people admit it or not. It is what it is, and we have to be prepared. I heard that the radical Muslims don't like race cars. I heard they don't like dirt track racing, and I heard that it's open season on them. No, not really. We'll stay out of the political arena on that. Next weekend is Father's Day, and we've got some things that we want to talk about later on in the show about Father's Day. So keep that in mind. Also, got some results. We've got veterans results, super veterans results. Got some news about Billy Moyer, and not good news. But we'll get to all that, and I'm excited about tonight's show. If we can make it through, we're going to make it through. We're going to rock and roll and keep it locked and loaded. So don't go anywhere. Sit tight. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the Doctor, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas. 1 in 300 million. The odds of a daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland, spending 11 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. singles charts. 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 7 Grammy Awards. 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records. 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism. 1 in 68. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Eric Darnell.
This is David Reagan.
Jamie McMurray. This is Carl Edwards here for RAD,
the entertainment industry's voice for road safety.
Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible.
Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate.
Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network.
Just the facts and none of the bull
radio edit.
It's the Monday Night Results Show with the Doctor, only on the Performance Motorsports Network.
All right, welcome back. For those of you that have not seen it, there was a new record set at Paris Speedway in Southern California this past weekend, and it was by a young man named Cody Williams, second-generation racer. In a sprint car with no wing, he cleared the 21-foot catch fence for the first time in over 20 years of racing at Paris Valley Speedway. Run off into turn 1, hooked a rut, bicycled it, over she went. It just took one of those really weird hops, and up over the fence he went. Landed cage down. He got out of the car and walked all the way back to his pits. Sore and shaken, but still set the record. I mean, if you haven't seen the video, I will try to get it up on Performance Motorsports Network and the Monday Night Results Shows page here in a little bit. Been busy as a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest here lately, and I admit I haven't had a chance to get it on there. But one of the things that we wanted to talk about earlier, that we mentioned just a little bit ago, is PTSD. Now, people have learned for years that racing is probably one of the best ways possible to get the word or your cause out there. This is from Michael Barnes with Barnes Performance. Post-traumatic stress and disorder, we hear about it every day. But to see a loved one suffer from PTSD on a daily basis is heartbreaking. On May the 1st, 2016, this past May, after serving his country for 8 years, including 2 tours of Afghanistan, my brother, Sergeant Joseph E. Barnes, lost his battle with PTSD, leaving behind a 9-year-old son. Michael goes on to say, I can't change PTSD, but I can help raise awareness. PTSD is real. It is a very scary place for those who suffer from it. As I plan for the rest of the 2016 season, I will be building a 2016 Kryptonite dirt late model and dedicating it to the memory of my brother, Sergeant Joseph E. Brown, and the young men and women everywhere who have suffered or do suffer from PTSD. Our plan is to have this late model at the World 100 at Eldora. Jerry Bowerstock will be driving it. We need some help to make this happen as quickly as we would like. For a $25 donation, we will have the names of those who have suffered from PTSD along with any other servicemen and women. We would like to honor all the veterans that we can, past and present. Portions of all winnings will be donated to help Pause for Veterans at the end of the 2016 season. This is not something that is being taken lightly. The guys up at Barnes Performance, Michael Barnes especially, lost his brother. And to have to stand there and watch someone go through what they go through and be helpless to help them in any way is a heartbreaking thing. And he is doing what many, many racers all over the country do. He is using his racing to bring awareness to a problem that needs to be addressed. I know that there's lots of people out there that wonder, hey, Doc, why are you spending so much time on a cause that there's probably 300 different groups out there covering it and bringing awareness to it? Well, I'll tell you, it's real simple. Racers helping racers. Here on the show, we have lived by that motto since my very first show. I'm not here to make money for me or for the Monday Night Results Show or for Performance Motorsports Network. That's not what this is about. This is about racers everywhere who can come together and help bring awareness to a cause. Now, they need some help. They can't do this alone. So, anybody who is interested, if you want to donate or if you need more information, you can reach them at barnesperformance@gmail.com, or you can call or text them 740-919-1912. That's barnesperformance@gmail.com. Call or text 740-919-1912. Help them out if you can. Every little bit helps. And I know that racers are a generous breed. We're pig-headed. We're stubborn. We're opinionated. But we're also a giving bunch. They could really use some sponsorship on a corporate level. But they're doing everything they can to make plans for this car to bring awareness to PTSD a reality. They're about halfway there and they need some help. So if you can and if you will, please chip in and help them out just a little bit. If by chance you didn't get the information, feel free to shoot me a message. I will be more than happy to put you in contact with them and do everything we can to get you on the road to helping out a great bunch of people doing a great thing. And speaking of kryptonite race cars, I have a testimony here. Aaron Wilson, who has been blistering the North Georgia racetracks around here for the past couple of months, over the wintertime, he went and got him a new kryptonite race car, came back and took it to North Georgia, threw the steelhead motor in there and went out there and won. Turned around and went every racetrack he has went to, with the exception of Rome, where he got DQ'd for no mufflers, which was ignorant. It was stupid. He got protested for mufflers. I mean, but we won't even go into that. But he has been on a roll. He carried that Jewel down to Fort Payne and Speedway down there and done his best to put her in the show. Went out down the back straight over 100 miles an hour. He turned it around, backed it into a wall, and come to a sudden stop. Aaron said he was a little bit sore, but he lives to race another day. Stronger than kryptonite. Kryptonite race cars. Tip of the hat to you guys from me here at the doctor here at the Monday Night Results Show. Thanks for building a safe race car and looking out for our race car drivers. It was, hate to see Aaron wad one up, but glad that he was in a safe car and a solid car when it happened. That could have been devastating. But we like it. We like to hear our race car drivers doing good after a crash like that. Cody Williams, the son of the legendary Rip Williams, a longtime CRA driver. He took that wild ride out there at Paris. Aaron Wilson took a ride. Man, it's not looking good. I did hear seen on Facebook on Billy Moyer's page that the Dream is his last one. He's looking to hang it up after this year and said he's got some other things he wants to do. So it's been a great ride, Billy Moyer. Enjoyed watching you over the years, and I hope you have unbelievable success this year to finish out your career in a positive note and on a winning note. All right, we're going to jump out of here. We're going to step out. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to jump into some results, full tilt boogie. So don't go nowhere. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the Doctor, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
I'm NASCAR driver Bobby Labonte. At 200 miles per hour, many unseen dangers can arise in the blink of an eye. That's why we have spotters high above the track. They help drivers avoid trouble. Parents need to play the same role when it comes to kids and computers. As a parent, I know the internet can take kids to wonderful sites for learning, entertainment, and fun, but it can also lead to danger.
Here are some safety tips. Keep the computer in a family area where you can see it. Proactively teach your children never to share personal information online.
My turn.
Become knowledgeable about signing on to websites, searching for information, and using email and instant messaging. Doing so will help you recognize potential dangers. Familiarize yourself with safer websites and post that list by your computer.
Like our spotters, parents are best positioned to see the dangers kids could face online and to help them avoid them. Make a commitment to keeping kids safe online.
A message from WebWise Kids and Ask.com.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Travel is part of the American way of life.
When we're on vacation, we keep an eye out for anything that looks out of place.
Miss your bag.
When we travel from city to city, we pay attention to our surroundings.
Everyone plays a role in keeping our communities safe.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
It's the Monday Night Results Show, the internet radio show that gives you the results from your favorite racetracks. And that's it! If you're looking for a lot of happy talk and fluff, go watch NASCAR coverage on ESPN. Now, here's the doctor.
All right, welcome back. And we have got a bunch of results we're going to jump into. I've got some results from 5 Mile Point up in New York. They had the big Summer Slam modified at 5 Mile Point on Sunday up there in Kirkwood, New York. And the modified official finishing order for the 30-lap feature is Danny Johnson takes the win. Rick Hill was second. Brian Malcolm was third. Sean Walker was fourth. Anthony Perigo was fifth. Jerry Higby Jr. was sixth. Mike Colston was seventh. Brad Zulitsky was eighth. Clay Butler was ninth. Corey Costa was 10th. Chris Wood was 11th. 12th was Randy Green. Brian Puckett was 13th. Glenn Knapp was 14th. Dan Creedon was 15th. 16th was P.J. Goodwin. Heath Metzger was 17th. Nick Patriak was 18th. Richard Smith was 19th. Danny Taylor was 20th. Jeff Crambo was 21st. Dan Morden was 22nd. Jeff Hotzler was 23rd. Billy Decker was 24th. And Mike Butler got the big DQ. A little light at the scale. Should have stopped by the concession stand on his way to the scale house. In the IMCA modified feature, 20 laps, it was Keith Lamphere taking the win over Matt Cole. Tyler Stoddard was third. Gary Roberts was fourth. James Cornell was fifth. Will Ward was sixth. Mike Smith was seventh. Bob Maynard was eighth. Brandon Shepard was ninth. Brad Smith was 10th. Joe Novak was 11th. Jesse Velez was 12th. Gary Lampheres was 13th. Bill Ward was 14th. Mike Stoddard was 15th. And Ray McClure rounded out the 16-car field. In the four-cylinder official feature finish, it was Burt Maynard taking the win over Don Doster Jr. Jeremy Warren was third. Dave Sims was fourth. Andy Bowles was sixth. Andy Bowles was fifth. Jimmy DeFulvio was sixth. Rick Lund was seventh. Keith Teresio Jr. was eighth. Randy Lane was ninth. Shawnee Hazel was 10th. Adam Gilbert was 11th. Kenny Underwood was 12th. The Excel 600cc modifieds, the kind of like a dwarf car, kind of, sort of, but 600cc motors in them. It was Richie Heitzler taking the win over John Williams. Gary Kitchert was third. Ray Gradwell was fourth. Kyle England was fifth. Grant Shaliba was sixth. Will Eastman was seventh. Stephen Sherwood was eighth. C.J. Yocum was ninth. Hunter Deal was 10th. Corey England was 11th. Eric Boyd was 12th. Kevin Von Valkenburg was 13th, and Bailey Boyd did not start. Over in Dundee, New York, the Outlaw Speedway, the Ultimate Outlaw 50 race, June the 8th. The North Region, event number 4 of the modified features, it was Matt Shepard taking the win and bringing home $5,240. Eric Rudolph was second. Andy Bacchetti was third. Danny Creedon was fourth. Billy Van Pelt was fifth. Billy Van Ingwen was sixth. Matt DeLorenzo was seventh. Brian Malcolm was eighth. Rick Coffey was ninth. Brady Fultz was 10th. 11th was Steve Payne. Stuart Friesen was 12th. Justin Wright was 13th. Joe Ginn was 14th. Donnie Lawson was 15th. Mike Mahaney was 16th. Tommy Meyer was 17th. Nick Nye was 18th. Colton Wilson was 19th. Tyler Seary was 20th. Ron Cartwright Jr. was 21st. Craig Hansen was 22nd. Derek Podsiadlo was 23rd. Eric Perrero was 24th. Danny Johnson was 25th. Alan Johnson 26th. And Ryan Jordan rounded out the 27-car field. And that's how they ran them up at Outlaw up there in the northeastern United States. Then now that all the snow's gone, they're racing wide open up there. They're racing 3 and 4 nights a week, having a big old time. All right, we slide on down south a little bit, down I-75, down there about Woodstock to Dixie Speedway in the super late models. Man, I tell you what, it was a tough night down there. Low car count, 13 super late models timed in. It was pretty tough, I'm telling you. Dixie Speedway, 78 total race cars in the yard in the super late models. It was my buddy, Mr. Diamond, Dale Thurman, taking his second win of the year. The 00 of Johnny Chastain was second. Luther Jenkins was third. Justin Shipley was fourth. Jason Smith was fifth. Scott Hall was sixth. Chuck Padgett was seventh. Bobby Tucker was eighth. Chris Sizemore was ninth. Michael Queen was 10th. 11th was the X-Man, Sean Chastain. Ben Hill was 12th, and Ronnie Haynes was 13th. In the Steelhead late models, it was, let me see here, Jason Smith taking the win over Chris Sizemore, who was doing double duty. Chuck Padgett and Scott Hall were third and fourth. Ronnie Haynes was fifth. Ben Hill was sixth. Oliver Gentry was seventh. Bobby Tucker was eighth. Michael Queen was ninth. Nicky Prosser was 10th. Ryan West did not start. In the crates, the crate late models, it was Hunter Jones, brother, and two brothers up front. Hunter Jones taking the win. Jake Jones was second. David Burtz was third. Jimmy Price was fourth. Jason Morris was fifth. Zach Shelton was sixth. Seventh was Tony Beck. Tom Watson was eighth. Jake Rainey was ninth. Kyle Cochran was 10th. Tate Nicholson was 11th. Logan Palmer was 12th. Jacques Daniels was 13th. George Wilson was 14th. And Richard Dale was 15th. In the Super Bombers, it was Daniel Brewer taking the win over Alan Brewer. Jerry Fowler was third. Richard Good was fourth. Fifth was Donnie Thurman. Eric Hogshead was sixth. Matt Thompson was seventh. Petey Cochran was eighth. Jeremy Millsap was ninth. David Rogers was 10th. Roy Patterson was 11th. John Land was 12th. Tim Ford was 13th. Sam Gibson was 14th. Daniel Crew was 15th. And Randall Powell rounded out the 16-car field. In the Econo Bombers, big Dodge motor down there. None other than the ham bone himself. Eric Hamby takes the win over Corey Wright. John Davis was third. Dalton Polston was fourth. Billy Dean was fifth. Andrew Moody was sixth. Ryan Ray was seventh. Landon Bagby, after a bang-up start to the year, he comes home eighth. Ninth was C.J. Shields. Taylor Cole was 10th. Kyle Beavers was 11th. Joe Trantham was 12th. James Swanger was 13th. Daniel Floyd was 14th. Let me see. Derek Young was 15th, and Randy Smith was 16th. Excuse me. Edwin Scott, Jeremy Williams, James Gagnon, Tyler Williams, and Will Payne did not start. In the Street Stingers, these are four-cylinder front-wheel drive, bone stock, kick the windows out, put your roll cage and a seat in it and some belts and go racing. It was Michael Karp taking a win over Brian Kosher. Shane Gooden was third. Brian Dempsey was fourth. Randy Ledford was fifth. Nick May was sixth. Seventh was Tony Newman. John Somerville was eighth. Willard Edmondson was ninth. Cody Sisson was 10th, and 11th was Melissa Dempsey. That is how they ran them down there at Dixie Speedway this past Saturday night. Dixie's next event, let me see here. Jump over here to the schedule page. The June 18th, the Bill Ingram Memorial. They have rescheduled it $3,000 to win Super Late Model, $800 to win Super Bomber Championship, and kids bike races. That will be at Dixie Speedway this coming weekend. So keep that in mind as well. Now, let's see here. Everyone knows that they ran the big race up at Eldora this weekend. And congratulations to Dennis Erb Jr. on his win. He had to work for it, holding off Kid Rocket. And Dale McDowell right there in fourth. Shane Clanton made a charge up through the field, stalled out about eighth or ninth. Jonathan Davenport come from pretty deep in the field. He come charging up through there, running the high side. He managed to stuff it in the wall, and that pretty much ended his night as well. But the one name that was missing, and those of you that know me know that I don't like him anyway, Scott Bloomquist. He loaded up and went home. He did not make the show. And the kicker is, I got a kick out of this one. Supposedly, he was bringing a new car to the track. And new car and new hauler, so he just loaded up his other stuff and took off and went so that he could get in Thursday and Friday night. He drove off and left his pit cart at the shop. Why do you leave your pit cart at the shop? Bless his heart. The man has talent. I'm not going to deny that. But he is just he's so arrogant. I mean, that's the only way to put it. It's one thing to be cocky because you're good, and you know a little bit of cockiness makes you faster. But to be so stinking arrogant about it, it just I have absolutely no use for him. I mean, I know there's a lot of my listeners out there that think Scott Bloomquist hung the moon and that he is the best dirt car driver who has ever lived. Well, he's got a long way to go to catch Buck Simmons. Got a long way to go to catch Larry Moore. Guys like C.L. Pritchett, Leon Archer, Gary McPherson. Legends of the sport. No, they might not have run with a multi-million-dollar team and ran out front and run the big touring series. But these guys had honor, they had dignity, and they had humility. You didn't hear them out there jumping up and down, bragging and screaming and hollering and blowing their own horn. No, they let their steering wheel do the talking for them. And I would probably like Bloomquist a whole lot better if he let his steering wheel do his talking. But it is what it is, and best of luck to him. I don't know where he's going to go next, but I'm sure he will be a force to be reckoned with once he gets the new car figured out and gets everything sorted out. I'm sure he will be on track to get out there and win another one. I know he's not an idiot, so it's not like he can't do it. It's just that's just the way it works sometimes. Now, I'm not going to do the results right this second because we're getting up close to a break. I'm going to do them when we come back from break. But I wanted to talk just a little bit about this young man. Sent me an email, and I'd rather not read it verbatim, but his name is Lieutenant Commander Will Gully. He is from Brookland, Arkansas, and he wanted to hear the results from Crowley's Ridge Speedway and Paragould, Arkansas. So we got the results for him. But this young man is stationed aboard the USS Nimitz, which is under intermediate maintenance over in Bremerton, Washington. And he had a very dear friend of his pass away this past weekend. And the way things worked out, the guy's family couldn't make it. They didn't have no way to get to Bremerton, Washington. And Lieutenant Commander Will Gully took up a collection And they brought this man's wife and his 3 kids to Washington to be with their dad right before he passed away. All this was done in like 48 hours. And the military couldn't get their act together to fly this family from Arkansas to Washington to be with their father and their husband. So Lieutenant Commander Will Gully stepped in. So, Lieutenant Commander, thank you for your service, sir. From one veteran to another, I salute you, and I tip my hat to you for standing in the gap, doing what you do so that we can do what we do here at home. And coming up right after the break, we will jump in and we will get your results for Crowley's Ridge. I just want to let everybody know, you know, it's amazing how much red tape the service has to go through, members of the service. I mean, this man was injured in a car accident, and the doctors told him they didn't expect him to make it through the weekend. And the Navy couldn't cut red tape quick enough to get this his kids and his wife to Washington. So Lieutenant Commander Gully stepped in, walked around, passed the hat, come up with enough money, put the kids and the wife on an airplane, and flew them out there and got them there in time. And that is one of the reasons that he is our Veterans Results for this week. We're going to be covering Crowley's Ridge and the results in honor of Lieutenant Commander Will Gully. Now, Father's Day coming up this weekend. I want everyone to remember, best thing you can give your father for Father's Day, tickets to the races, man. I mean, really. What dad don't like to go to the races? There's a lot of racetracks around. This would be a great time for some father-son, father-daughter, husband-wife, whatever the case may be. This would be a good time to give them something that they're going to remember for a long time and it become a memory. Take them to a racetrack somewhere near you, whether it's asphalt, dirt track, road course, drag strip, it don't matter. Support motorsports. That's what the name of the game is. Get out and support your local racetracks, because without the support of the fans, these racetracks won't be around long. There's lots of them closing, and it's something that needs to be addressed. So best way to do that is get out and support your local racetrack. Now, like I said, there's a racetrack that'll have some kind of an excitement for you, whether it's drag racing in a straight line, boats, planes, it don't matter. If there's a race going on, get out and support it. Support motorsports. I support dirt racing and road racing and go-karts and lawnmowers. Hell, here at the Monday Night Results Show, we support it all. We do everything we can to help all those in need, and every racetrack needs a little help. So get out there and spread the word and take somebody racing this weekend. All right, we're going to step out and take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to do Crowley's Ridge Speedway up there in Paragould, Arkansas, so don't go nowhere. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the Doctor, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
I'm NASCAR driver Bobby LeBon. At 200 miles per hour, many unseen dangers can arise in the blink of an eye. That's why we have spotters high above the track. They help drivers avoid trouble. Parents need to play the same role when it comes to kids and computers. As a parent, I know the internet can take kids to wonderful sites for learning, entertainment, and fun, but it can also lead to danger.
Here are some safety tips. Keep the computer in a family area where you can see it. Proactively teach your children never to share personal information online.
My turn.
Become knowledgeable about signing on to websites, searching for information, and using email and instant messaging. Doing so will help you recognize potential dangers. Familiarize yourself with safer websites and post that list by your computer.
Like our spotters, parents are best positioned to see the dangers kids could face online and to help them avoid them. Make a commitment to keeping kids safe online.
A message from WebWise Kids and Ask.com.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Travel is part of the American way of life.
When we're on vacation, we keep an eye out for anything that looks out of place.
Miss your bag.
When we travel from city to city, we pay attention to our surroundings.
Everyone plays a role in keeping our community safe.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't do, I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Covering the entire field from the back markers to the race winner every weekend. It's the Monday Night Results Show, the Internet's only racing results show. Now back to the doctor.
All right, welcome back. You know, there is a lot of people out there who have been going through some really tough times this weekend especially, with all that's happening down there in Orlando. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox on that. I just want to say, you know, prayers to all the people affected by that. It was a terrible tragedy, and I hate it. All right. As we mentioned before the break, our veterans result this week goes out to Lieutenant Commander Will Gully from Brooklyn, Arkansas, stationed aboard the USS Nimitz, which is up there for intermediate maintenance in Bremerton, Washington. She will be there until 2019. So the Nimitz is going under some extensive renovations, and they'll get her back up to snuff, and the biggest ship in the fleet will be back real quick. All right. Crowley's Ridge Raceway, Paragould, Arkansas. This past Saturday night in the late model feature, it was Scott Tracer taking the win. Travis Ashley was second. Jamie Robards was third. Jeff Jordan was fourth. Josh Green was fifth. Mark Nichols was sixth. Stephen Crocker was seventh. John Hill was eighth. Ninth was Jamie West. Mark Jordan was 10th. Brian Reynolds was 11th. Ferd Jordan was 12th. And Leslie Walker rounded out the 13-car field. In the modifieds, it was Jim Gully taking the win. I wonder if he didn't tell me that there was a Gully racing. But if they're related, congratulations. Jim Gully takes the win over Paul Reeder. Jeff Davis was third. Chanley Perderman was fourth. Ryan Moore was fifth. Vance Ball was sixth. Dustin Castleberry was seventh. Joe Poteet was eighth. Scott Combs was ninth. John Green was 10th. Walter Dunn was 11th. And Andrew Moreno rounded out the 12-car field. In the street stocks, out of Jonesboro, Arkansas, it was Billy Britt taking the win. Billy Britt Jr. was second. Nick Abbott was third. Caleb Tribble was fourth. James Walker was fifth. Hayden Chavers was sixth. Steve Smithy was seventh. Nathan Stormies was 8th, and Kelly Phillips rounded out the 9-car field. Father and son. Pops won, Junior runs second. That must have been a lot of fun. Factory stock feature, it was Cody Russell out of Bono, Arkansas, taking the win over Nick Weaver. Aaron Cope was 3rd. Lakin Waters was 4th. Shane Waters was 5th. Keith Ennis was 6th. 7th was Mackie McReynolds. John Kinnett was 8th. Jason Mathis was 9th. Aaron Keeling was 10th. Brandon Harris was 11th. Josh Coffer was 12th. Kevin Conway was 13th. 14th was Matthew Elliott. Bradley Tucker was 15th. Tim Hogan was 16th. Billy Tribble was 17th. Brandon Bounds was 18th. And Michael Coley rounded out the 19-car field. In the Ridge Runner division, it was Robert Hazelwood taking the win over Brian Tansel. Caden Turner was 3rd. Peggy Francis was 4th. Frankie Bolton was 5th. James Hinkle was 6th. Marcus Hinkle was 7th. 8th was Michael Beard. Matt Thomas was 9th. Neil Galen was 10th. Michael Thomas was 11th. Didn't I just say Michael Thomas? Oh, it was Michael Beard. Too many Michaels in there. Danny Moore was 12th. Dustin Murray was 13th. Jeff Brady was 14th. In the cruiser division, it was McFarland and Hood taking a win over Sarton and Painter. Charles Haney was 3rd. Miller and Miller was 4th. Gamble and Dillon was 5th. Winford and Winford was 6th. Cobb and Cobb was 7th. And Cole and Crump rounded out the 8-car field. And that's how they ran them up there in Paragould, Arkansas at Crowley's Ridge Raceway in honor of Lieutenant Commander Will Gully out of Brooklyn, Arkansas, stationed aboard the USS Nimitz up there in Bremerton, Washington. Thank you, sir, for all you do and for going above and beyond and helping out fellow racers and fellow servicemen everywhere. It is an honor to get to do that for you tonight. All right. There was some controversy brewing here lately about tire rules. You know, there's a lot of racetracks out there that have tire rules. Now, some of them, all it has to do is they take a durometer, and which checks the hardness of the tire, and they stick the tire after the race. If the tire sticks within the specifications, it is considered legal. Some tracks have carried it one further, and they only allow a certain number tire to qualify to race on. Say if it's a Hoosier, they'll allow a 1300 or a 1350 or a 1600. If it's an American racer, you know, some tracks allow both tires, some tracks don't. One of the tracks that has come under fire here lately has been Dixie Speedway. Dixie and Rome. A number of years ago, the Swims family, which promotes Dixie and Rome, they come up with a deal with Hoosier that if you're going to run Dixie, you have to run a Dixie tire. It's called a DRS, Dixie and Rome Speedway. It's made by Hoosier. It's pretty much the same tire as anywhere else, but it just has to have that shoulder badge on it. And there is a lot of people who are squawking and complaining about the Dixie rule, the tire rule. Reason being, if you don't have that tire, you're not legal to race at Dixie. 15, 20 years ago, this tire rule was a pretty good deal. You had to buy your tire from the racetrack, and if you raced there every weekend, that was a good thing because, you know, you could use the tire over and over, and it'd still be legal. Well, now in the days of racetracks closing down, racers looking for places to race, finding a racetrack that is close to home that you can race at can sometimes be a daunting task. And a lot of racers are traveling around. With the opening of Sonoa Speedway over there in Sonoa, Georgia, it has hit Dixie pretty hard. Dixie's Superclass has, I ain't going to say they've suffered. I mean, they still got, 10, 15 cars every week, but in the past, it was like there was a lot of cars that went home at Dixie. Dixie's average car count used to be, you look at Dixie's results anytime over the past 4 or 5 years, and it was 125, 130 cars, 140 cars each and every week. The grandstands were packed. Well, as times have changed, a lot of racetracks have done away with the solo tire rule. Reason being, they don't want to pay the money out to have the tires made, and they don't want to lock drivers in to only running that particular tire. So at Dixie, you don't see a whole lot of traveling drivers. At Dixie, mostly what you see is the locals who run there each and every week. You don't get a lot of drivers that will come in, say, from North Georgia or from Toccoa or Livonia, because nobody wants to come over there and run one night and have to buy tires that has a DRS shoulder badge on them. Now, is it hurting the sport? Well, you look at their car count, and in Supers, yeah, it does hurt it a little bit. Supers, a weekly Super show, Super Late Models, is getting to be a thing of the past. They are slowly but surely pricing their way out of existence, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. I mean, think about this. You've got a $30,000 race car, $40,000 all aluminum motor. By the time you figure in the hauler and the rear end and the shocks and all that, you're well up over $100,000, and you're showing up on a Saturday night to race for $1,500 or $2,000. I mean, economically, that's ignorant. I mean, that's stupid. Now, true, racing is an expensive sport. Everybody knows it when they get involved in it, and that's just the way things happen. But when you keep locking things down, like Dixie has with their tire rule at Dixie and Rome both, it's gonna have a chance of driving drivers away and making drivers not tow all the way to Dixie. A lot of drivers are towing to Sanoa. You look at the drivers list at Sanoa Speedway over the past 7-8 months, and you look at the drivers list at Dixie from last year, you see a lot of drivers that ran Dixie last year are running Sanoa this year. And, Dixie tonight, we done Dixie's results. They had 13 cars in Super Late Models. Well, some of those cars were steelheads, and they let them run 2 divisions just to make sure they had a full field, which that's questionable too. When you got steelheads running with the Super Late Models, but it goes right back to the same old thing. These racetracks have got to get on board. They have got to get some class identification. You sit and you look at a racetrack, say you go to Dixie or North Georgia or Winchester or I-75 Speedway, all the race cars look the same except for the pony cars. You look at, say, take Dixie for example. You look at Econo Bomber, which is their lowest V8 class. You look at the bodies for those. It looks just like a Super Late Model. You look at Super Bomber. It looks just like a Super Late Model. You look at crates. If you don't know what you're looking at, it looks just like a Super Late Model. It's just got a big spoiler, a bigger 4-inch bigger spoiler on it. You look at Steelhead Late Models. Same thing, motor's different. And then you look at Supers. So why would somebody want to go watch the same looking car run 5 times in one night? Yeah, the Supers are a whole lot faster than the Econo Bombers. I agree with that. They are. But to the average fan who is going to come in for, say, their first time going to a race, they're going to come in there and sit down and say, okay, let's see some racing. They've got 5 classes here, and 4 of them roll out all looking exactly the same. or 5 classes roll out looking all exactly the same, they're like, hey, what's the purpose of this? You know, what's the difference? Fans in the stands shouldn't have to ask what the difference is. They should be able to look at the cars and see a visual difference. Used to be Econo Bombers were steel bodied, like your B hobby and your A hobby. Every racetrack calls them something different. Dixie's always called them Bombers, Econo and Super. In the past 3 years, their rules have morphed so bad, and they say it's because they can't find any more clip cars. Well, that may be true. But the thing about it is, there are options out there. You do not have to make the cars look like super late model cars. Hal has a clip. You can go buy it. IMCA runs a clip, you know. I mean, IMCA, all their cars are clip cars. What's their excuse? They have 125, 130 cars show up at any racetrack in the Midwest. They have 800 cars show up for the Boone Nationals. Think about that. 800 cars at one racetrack. 5 classes, and they're all going to run on one day. They're coming to get into the show to run on one day. They will race the alphabet soup just like going to the Chili Bowl, the BB hobby, the CC hobby, or heats. They'll do heats. They'll do B mains, C mains, consolation races, last chance qualifiers. All these races, all to get in to run, be one of the 24 cars that run that feature that last day that they race. And, you know, 800 cars. I think this year they said they had 23 states represented. 23 states at one racetrack, 800 cars. That is a sanctioning body that is doing something right. I promise you, there are a whole lot more than 800 cars in the southeastern United States, and every racetrack around here could be having that same kind of turnout a couple of times a year if they wanted it. But it takes work. It takes making the rules the same across the board. I find it funny how all these racetracks bitch and moan and groan and complain about crap like that. But yet, you watch other racetracks all over the country make it work. Speaking of making it work, after we're getting ready to step out for a quick commercial break here in just a couple of minutes, when we come back, we're going to have the man himself, Mr. Bill Blair, is going to be joining us. And we're going to talk a little bit about NASCAR. You know, there's been a lot of things we corrected NASCAR on their history lesson here a couple of weeks ago with the special edition show. Well, tonight we got to thinking about it. We're going to tell NASCAR how they could fix what they need to do to get NASCAR back where it needs to be. NASCAR stock, well, International Speedway Association Corporation, their stock has fallen, I just looked a while ago, 7% this year. You say, that's not bad. Well, when you consider that they had a 1.5 average gain per year for 19 years in a row, and now all of a sudden they got a 7-point drop? Makes you wonder, makes you think. Well, tell you what, when we come back, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to have the man himself, Mr. Bill Blair, is going to be sitting in with us. So don't go nowhere. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the Doctor, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Do you love the sound of high revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
This is Paul Stanley from KISS for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. Some of us work months producing a CD, but in less time than it takes to play it, someone will be killed in an alcohol-related crash. So please don't drive when you've been drinking. Plan ahead. Arrange a designated driver. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network.
This is Joey Logano, driver of NASCAR number 22 Discount Tire Car. You know something? You and I aren't all that different. I drive a car, you drive a car. My car has tires, your car has tires. I may be going just a little faster than you each weekend, but we both need to keep those tires properly inflated to stay safe. So be tire smart and do your part. Check your tire pressures once a month and before every long journey.
Visit betiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
Racing is all about winning. But hey, the second place guy has family too, getting you all the results from your favorite racetracks. Now back to the Monday Night Results Show with the Doctor.
All right, welcome back. And before we bring Bill Blair in here real quick, I just want to remind everybody June 12th, which was yesterday, marks the third anniversary of the death of former NASCAR racer Jason Leffler, who was killed in a sprint car accident in Bridgeport Speedway in Bridgeport, New Jersey. Three-time USAC midget champion, NASCAR driver who made 423 starts. Also made 3 IndyCar starts and finished 17th in the 2000 Indy 500. We miss you, Jason. It's not the same without you. All right. Joining us right now, the man himself, a regular guest here on the Monday Night Results Show, and I'm tickled to have him, Mr. Bill Blair. Bill, how are we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing fine, Mitch. Doing great. How about you?
Well, I'm finding a frog hair split 3 ways and sanded, but, you know, it's a tough life, but somebody's got to do it.
I hear that.
Now, you know, Bill, we had a great response to the show, the special edition show that me and you done here a couple of weeks ago, where we talked about NASCAR and how they've kind of changed history just a little bit from their way of seeing things. And we set a lot of people straight, and we got a lot of people. One of the things that touched me was a lot of people got in touch with me and said, hey, we never really thought about it that way. We didn't know that's the way that happened. And they get to doing some research on their own, and lo and behold, they say, hey, the information is out there. You just got to dig for it a little bit. And they thanked you and I both for bringing that to their attention. And they said that, you know, it gives them a different aspect on NASCAR now. And I thought that was pretty neat.
Well, it was. There's a lot of comments that I received on the internet from people, and I think they enjoyed going back in years past to see how racing really was and where it all started, and the people who played a part in it. And, you know, what we're talking about tonight is the fact that NASCAR started, the Cup Series, which was called Strictly Stock in 1949. And I'll never forget when Bill France called here at the house after the Okanichi race down Hillsborough, North Carolina in 1949, the third race of the season. They had a sellout crowd, and he told my dad, he said, the future, that's the future. You need to sell that modified. And so my daddy, parked his modified and sold it and ran Strictly Stock. Next year it's Grand National. And up through the years, we sat here and enjoyed stock car racing. My dad made an investment in it all of his life just to race, and I did likewise. And, just love stock car racing. And when I couldn't go to the race, watch it on TV. And I remember back the Daytona race when Cale and Donnie got into it along with Bobby down there for the 500, and it was snowed in the north, and racing really took off, something we never thought would probably happen that big on that scale. And now we come up to past few years, and it's going back the other way, and it's really sad. And I guess that's what we'd like to talk about tonight just a little bit. Is there anything that can be done?
Well, Bill, I think there's lots that can be done, and I think one of the things that really stands out in my mind is the way NASCAR over the years has kind of morphed. And I understand, times change and things change, and they listen to the drivers for a long time, and it got to the point to where the cars were so dependent on aerodynamics, and it just it killed the racing. And it was just, let's just show up. And then you got the drivers who make so stinking much money that they're just there to make a paycheck. I mean, a lot of them, you've got a few of them that are still out there that race because they absolutely love it. And there's a lot of them out there that's just making a paycheck. And I think that the way NASCAR has isolated so many teams, I mean, not so many, but they come in with this charter system, and they quit making the winner's purse available. They've operated under such a shroud of secrecy as far as the management goes for so long. I think that the fans are starting to catch on, and especially in this day of social media, you have so many fans that know more about racing than they did, say, 15 or 20 years ago, simply because the information is more available now. So NASCAR has had to kind of fine-tune to that, and I think they missed the boat.
Well, Mitch, probably so, but if you go back a few years when they opened Daytona, in that time span, people wanted more speed. In fact, Bill France offered $10,000 to the first one that could break the 180 mile an hour barrier down at Daytona. And of course, that's where Marshall Tigg lost his life trying to do so. And Danny Ungais broke it into Mad Dog 5 of Bob Osiecki's, and they wanted speed, but what they didn't realize, they come up through the years, and they brought engineers into the teams of stock car racing here, and they got rockets with 4 tires on it, and these tracks, they're just white elephants, a lot of them. And, they go to the wind tunnel trying to design a car to keep it on the ground, and they can only put one car at a time in a wind tunnel, and they can make it real good. The problem is when they put a car behind it and one behind that one, you got dirty air, and all these packages they keep coming up with about 3 or 4 a year. It just ain't really going to help it. When you have a situation like that, the lead car is always going to have an advantage, and regardless of what to do, and they keep on having these packages and have pack racing, I guess, is what you're going to end up with. But they don't care what to do. The people just not coming, and they can have a package a week, a package a race, and I don't think you're going to, you ain't going to see any better racing. It's still going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of the same old, and I think that's began to be a problem. I mean, if you watch a race this past week, one of the most exciting things that weekend, a groundhog got loose up there on the track, and it took them about 20, 25 minutes to catch it. And once they did, it got loose and had to catch it again. Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I think all the pit crews watching on the monitor, and laughing and cheering. that's what that's what it's turned out to be. And I just made a list of some stuff that I know NASCAR, the France family, has probably tried real hard, and I don't want to criticize them. I just don't think I'd want to make that call, because that's got to be a big one, whatever you do to please everybody. But the comments that you hear now, I think I heard, read word that Joe Gibbs said we got to get more people back in the stands, and they're all commenting about it, and just what do you do? And I feel sure that they're trying hard, and they've probably hired some pretty special people to help them in marketing and all, but just some of the things I think that would please me if I was a race fan. And in fact, I'm tired of these that many races per year. I think they need to cut the schedule back. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just tell you what I've listed here.
Go ahead.
Okay, Charlotte, this World 600. You could take the fans that had at Charlotte and probably put them into North Wilkesboro and have a full house at Wilkesboro. But I just cut one race a year at Charlotte, and that'd be the 600. And I take the other race, and I know Bruton owns part of that track up there at Wilkesboro, but that was one of the best tracks to watch a race on ever. And it's just a beautiful setting in the fall. I go back to Wilkesboro, and then for one race a year. And then I go up to Martinsville, and I'd probably get Larry McReynolds and Jaws and not pickup trucks, but dump trucks, and haul red clay dirt back up there and make it back a dirt track like it was back in 1947, and make it the Eldora of the East. Now, I know Harvick and a lot of those guys love to drive on dirt. You could go up there and have like a 425-lap heat races, a consolation, then probably 150 to 200-lap dirt track race, and have a hell of a show. And you probably could do it 2 times a year, if not one time, but you could make that the Eldora of the East, and maybe the same thing at Bristol. Both of those races at Martinsville and Bristol is quite boring. They're just way too long, and I'd hate to pay money to go up there and sit and listen to all that noise at Bristol. That's deafening. It's just too long. And to think that you got to go 4 times a year to Martinsville and Bristol, make dirt tracks out of them, and then go to Daytona and have the 500. But the thing I'd change about that 500, probably the last 20 laps, it'd be single file restarts. These guys feel real safe in those cars today, the way they're built. And to get in the chase, you don't mind wrecking and taking a chance just to make the chase by winning the race. And it's just restart after restart, and tear up, 30-some cars this past year down there. That's got to be a car owner's nightmare to go to Daytona and Talladega. And so the July the 4th race at Daytona, I would start at 8 p.m. and run to midnight and run that road course, just like they did with the Grand American cars, and you called it the Power Veer 250, but we used to run that race down there in the late 60s and 70s that, run until midnight, and maybe start at midnight. I don't remember how it was, but I was there, and I worked with Jim Paschal and won the race, the Power Veer 250. But that would be interesting, be something new. Let them run on that road course from 8 until midnight. And I go to Talladega, I just run one race. I wouldn't even go to Kansas. I think that's a waste. And probably Richmond one race, because what is about half full. Yep. And it's just, the way it's right now, it's too much of the same old. But, that's what I look at. And another thing I probably look at, and Bowman Gray Stadium set a good old example here a few years ago when they had what you call Madhouse. And you remember when a few years ago they was going to let the boys be boys here in NASCAR, and then somebody want to throw a punch, they would fine them, bring them to the NASCAR trailer, and next Tuesday you'd read in the paper where they got fined $25,000 for being a boy. Well, I'd let it go back to being a boys be boys like to do at Bowman Gray Stadium. You have Tim Brown, the 2 Myers brothers, and Junior Miller. When they show up over there, that place will hold about 21,000. I could be off 1,000 or 2, but I'm thinking it's 21,000. They always have 18, 19, 20,000 people there, and they know that if one of those guys rubs one another or bumps one another, spins him out, there's going to be a ruckus. And yeah, they'll get out there and run into each other and get out and shout and throw a punch until the law gets there and they separate them and march them off to the field house over there, I guess. But that's what the people come over there to see. And in the madhouse, it was really sort of a reality show. And it was packed. You could not get in that place. I have friends that came from Florida, Georgia, Virginia, New Jersey, and some of them could get a ticket. It's standing room only, but you couldn't get in the place by letting the boys be boys. And you know, that's the way it was years ago. I mean, they settled the arguments right there at the track. And next week it could carry on. And talking to Randy Myers, you know, Bobby Myers and Billy Myers, that's the house that the Myers brothers built. And that goes back when they used to fight with Curtis Turner. And I know one of the deals over there, here come Bobby after the race, he had a tire tool. And Curtis come out with a gun. And he asked Bobby what he intended to do with that tire tool, and Bobby said, "I'm just looking for a place to put it down." So, you know, that you just couldn't get any more people in there. And then talking to Randy here the other day, Randy Myers, if they could reenact the Myers brothers and Curtis Turner, you could put 50,000 people in that place. They'd all come to see it. And NASCAR, my understanding is they stopped that. Bone Gray Stadium to stop them from having a madhouse. But, I mean, they didn't have, I mean, if they'd had another 10,000 seats over there, they could have sold it out. And so my opinion is, for what it's worth, just my opinion, I think that they need to really look at this and let the boys be boys. And, you know, Mitch, they're going to have to do something. I guess another thing that I would look at, last time I went to a race, if you went to the concession stand, you had to stop by the bank. I mean, I can go to a real nice restaurant, eat prime rib or steak for about what it costs to get a hot dog at one of these racetracks anymore.
Yep.
It's just outrageous. And then you know, I've been to Daytona and this is back in the 80s, pay $100 or more for a motel room, and then the night of the Sunday after the race is over, they dropped to $18. You remember that same year I was talking about a while ago when they had the snow up north and everybody they were snowed in, and it was after the race there at Daytona when I guess it was Allison's got into it with Cale on the backstretch over there.
Yep.
We had to stay that night because you couldn't get back to North Carolina on account of the bad weather and bad roads. And we've been paying $100 a night. Well, that Sunday night it was $18. It looks to me like that, you know, if people quit coming to races, they ain't going to need a motel. But they just get gouged and gouged and gouged. And I've had Channel 8, Channel 2, Channel 12, different TV stations come out here to the house and do some interviews and pictures of the cars and stuff. And they'll say the same thing. This just didn't start yesterday. This has been the last 10 years. It seems like that NASCAR's been all about greed. It's greed, greed, greed. And some of the emails and some of the comments made on Facebook to me this past couple of weeks, they said, "Bill, I wouldn't help those greedy SOBs." I mean, you know, people are just fed up with what's happened in the past few years. And like you said a while ago, they're not no dummies anymore. They're pretty smart about what's going on with stock car racing.
Well, you know, Bill, one of the things that gets me is you know, there was some comments made here last year when NASCAR started taking a lot of the seats out of the grandstands. And, you know, they took, let me see, I believe it was 17,000 seats out of Atlanta. They removed 41,000 from Charlotte. And they pull all these seats out, and you ask them why, and they say, well, we've done surveys, and the fans say that they want a more personal interaction, and they want more interaction, and they want to feel more intimate. And by taking the seats out, that's what we do. Well, that's the biggest crock of crap I ever heard in my life. I mean, we all know that the reason they took the seats out is because they couldn't fill the damn things, and they're too greedy to give the seats away.
Well, they got too many experts.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, you can write a survey and word the survey to give you the answers that you want.
You got it.
And when you do that, and then you throw it back, well, that's what the fans want, because that's what our surveys tell us. That's the biggest crock of crap I ever seen in my life. But I tell you what, Bill, hold that thought, because we're getting ready to jump out for a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, we got some more stuff that we're going to be jumping into. But so far, I'm tickled to death with what you got going on and cutting the races. And I really believe that one of the things that they really need to do is let the boys be the boys. You know, stop. Don't find them. Bring back more people like Bobby Allison and Donnie Allison, some of the real characters of the sport, some Fonnie Flocks and stuff. So I tell you what, sit tight. We'll be right back. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker, and my special guest, Mr. Bill Blair, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time. What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
If you're a gearhead and you just can't get enough of your favorite motorsports on that channel on the cable, or you look at that Guy network and you just go, what does that have to do with me? We have the answer. Performance Motorsports Network. Right here on the internet. The best cruising tunes, the best in motorsports programming, and the best shows. We have opinionated hosts, and we like it that way. If you want to get involved, if you want to bench race, be listening for information coming up soon right here on this channel, the Performance Motorsports Network, your source for motorsports.
It's the Monday Night Results Show, the internet radio show that gives you the results from your favorite racetracks. And that's it. If you're looking for a lot of happy talk and fluff, go watch NASCAR coverage on Fox TV. Now, here's the doctor.
All right, welcome back. Now, we got my special guest, Mr. Bill Blair, with me tonight. One of the things I want to touch on this real quick. Now I want to get back to let the boys be boys. We were talking before the break that NASCAR has cut a bunch of seats out of racetracks. Well, I just found this number, and I found it pretty interesting. In 2007, International Speedways Corporation's 12 major tracks had 1.1 million grandstand seats, not including suites. That's just their grandstand seats. And as of now, the number is 740,000. They have cut getting close to 300,000 seats from 12 racetracks. And if that don't tell you that something's wrong in there, it just amazes me. But now back to what we were talking about. Let the boys be the boys. You know, Bill, here recently, NASCAR come out with that harebrained idea of they're not going to penalize the teams on lug nuts. And Tony Stewart come out, and Tony Stewart, I love him to death. He's outspoken. He's kind of brash at times, but NASCAR needs a whole lot more like him. He come out, criticized NASCAR. NASCAR jumped up and said, hey, you violated such and such rule of talking bad about NASCAR, making disparaging remarks and putting down our management. So we're going to fine you. And then they turn around after they fine him, they turn around and make the same adjustments to the rules that Tony was bitching about. You know, you can't have it both ways. They need to bring back the personalities. You know, the Fonnie Flocks, the Bobby Allisons, the Curtis Turners, the people that brought the fans. Now, the only reason people come to the races now is not to see good racing. I mean, it's just to show off their new 48 shirt or their new 24 shirt that they got. You know, they're there for merchandising, and that's fine and good. But bring back some racing. You know, quit making it yawners. I think 300 miles, 300 laps. You know, an hour and a half is long enough for any race. 2 hours maybe, but when you have to sit through constant 4 hours of listening to Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Gordon pat each other on the back and talk about how good NASCAR is for the sport of motor racing, it makes you sick to your stomach.
Well, all the people Mitch is talking about how good it is, and we're the future. The new guys is coming up, you know, Logano and Larson and Elliott, the future of the sport. Well, good luck, because the way it's going, I don't know about that. But Lou LaRosa and I were together last week over in Mooresville, and I've talked to Waddell Wilson, and one of the things that we talk about is that in these shops, engine rooms, and the whole shop, everybody's a specialist. Now they got engineers for everything. Before you put something on a car, the engineer's got to draw it out on paper. And it's just engineer here and engineer there. And I remember way back that I believe Penske might have been the first to bring an engineer down to NASCAR. And I don't think France really liked that, because he knew that everybody's going to have to step up and it's going to cost a lot more money. And we were just laughing about everything being run by engineers now. And you go to work for them, you got to have some knowledge, but you just bolt it on, bolt it off, and the engineers make all decisions. Now they're making crew chiefs out of engineers. And then you go down to there on at the headquarters out at Daytona Beach, and they got all the experts in there. Just maybe, they got too many experts in racing. And if I was really wanting to know what's wrong with racing, I'd go, instead of doing these surveys that they probably do, I'd find me somebody that was not obligated to NASCAR in any way or relied upon NASCAR, and put them out there and let them spend a month, hunt up the people that's quit going to stock car racing and ask them why they quit and get the real answer. As you said a while ago, you can manipulate your surveys and you get the kind of answers that you want. But you take some of these people and give them a desk and an office, and they become experts in that field. And the good old Joe out here that's been going all his life stock car racing, all of a sudden he quits. That's the guy you need to talk to, or possibly. And then, you look at the people running NASCAR today compared to the ones that were running it years ago. I guess, Mitch, it's a different set of circumstances. Yes, we have a different generation of going to stock car racing. And just possibly now, in my opinion, the millennials and the new generation that's going to stock car racing are not gearheads the way they used to be. We talked about if your daddy drove a Ford, you was probably going to drive a Ford. Chevrolet, you was going to be a Chevrolet. Well, now you got truck racing. Well, ain't nobody driving pickups like they used to. They're going to SUVs. There was time pickups were the hot ticket. And now everybody's got an SUV sitting in the driveway. Well, they don't race SUVs. And the cars that they're racing in cup racing, well, that's a minority anymore. So, man, they got some decisions to make, and I'm glad I don't have to make them. The people that are making them, though, some of them, they don't need to be on TV. It just turns you off when you get them up there in front of the camera and they start talking, and then the general public already knows. They read it in the media. They know what they're fixing to say. It's like old news. I mean, you don't keep much of anything secret in stock car racing. If you don't believe that, go to Mooresville. I mean, you can find out the latest about everybody over there if you just spend about a day. But, and then again, the politically correct deal. We did away with the Southern 500. Why did we do that? And now they brought it back because there was such a outcry about it. And next thing you know, they wanted to stop the Confederate flags from being in the infield. And I remember the race at all the Southern 500s and the races at Darlington, and also the July 4th race down there. It was just a sea of the red battle flag. And they can say what they want to, but this is the generation of people back in those days that laid the foundation for stock car racing. And it looks to me like the current NASCAR people is trying to, or tried to drive those people away. And they wanted to court the minorities, nothing against that, but, they wanted to bring others aboard. They wanted also the doctors and the lawyers and the jet-set people to stock car racing. But they sort of shunned the old guys and the families that were there and laid the foundation for others to come along later. And, to prove that point, look at that documentary series they did when they made the moonshiner out to be the bad guy. You remember the so-called Bill France said, well, when he was talking about Junior Johnson, there'll never be another moonshiner burn me again. And if I was Junior Johnson, that'd make me madder than hell. I really would. That was a slap in the face to Junior Johnson. Junior Johnson's the guy that brought RJR aboard. You remember? He went to see him about a sponsorship for his team up in North Wilkesboro, and they had so much money. He looked at them and said, guys, y'all need to talk to NASCAR. Y'all need to talk to Bill France. And instead of him taking advantage of that sponsorship that he could have got, he carried it down to Daytona Beach and gave it to Bill France. And look what they did to him in that documentary. That really pissed me off. I don't mind telling you, and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying that, but that was just wrong. And then they turned right around, Mitch, and I know this. It was in the internet and on the news. Brian turned right around and made a big donation to the Rainbow Coalition of Jesse Jackson. You think that's right? And I guess he had a reason for it, but what I'm saying is that instead of bringing everybody together and bringing them in, he sort of was divisive, in my opinion. But and then they got a new deal going. I didn't understand it yet. I guess you may, but this thing about rise to win, discrimination. They had Jimmy Johnson and Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson. I guess that they got a campaign now about don't discriminate. And I can understand that too, but I thought we had already gone beyond that. But they're bringing it back, it looks like. It's just like it's politically correct. Every time you turn the corner, if it isn't in the news in Washington, D.C., it's in stock car racing too. And I just thought we were beyond all that. I guess that just turns me off, and from talking to other people, it turns them off too. They don't want to hear that. They just don't want to hear it.
I agree with you, Bill. And you were talking about millennials not being gearheads and trying to get the millennials and the younger generations to come to the races. I think one of the things that studies have proven, and you can go on YouTube and look, one of the things that kids nowadays are posting left and right is fights. Fights that they catch at school, fights that they catch out behind an old garage somewhere. These kids love controversy. And if they were to bring back the true heart of the sport, drivers like Tony Stewart, drivers like the Allisons and Cale Yarborough, who wasn't scared to get out there and let it be known what they thought and not be worried about pissing somebody off, I think that in itself would attract some of the millennials to come back. And if you just get them in the gate and show them a good race, then they've got a reason to come back. But, when you take them to cookie cutter racetracks, one right after the other, Kansas, Iowa, California, it's all the same crap over and over and over. Like you were talking about with the length of the races. That's ridiculous. Back to tracks like North Wilkesboro. Bring back the tracks like Rockingham and Darlington, and these tracks that had character, tracks that it took some skill to get around, not just an aero car or some super duper wind tunnel machine. Bring back racetracks that promoted racing. And the idea of Bristol and Martinsville full of dirt, man, I tell you what, that got my heart pumping. I was at Bristol when they filled that place full of dirt, when the sprint cars went up there and when the late models went up there. And if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. You can look it up. But Stevie Smith Sammy Swindell took the Channel Lock sprint car, went up there. At the time, Steve Park had the track record, 123 miles an hour at Bristol in a NASCAR in his Monte Carlo. Sammy Swindell went up there with that place full of dirt and went 147 miles an hour in a sprint car. Now, if it's that much faster for a sprint car, imagine what those cup cars would do if you put them on dirt and set them up to run dirt. Bring dirt back.
That.
Bring it. Make it exciting.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Mitch, that would be great. I'd pay to see that. And I believe they could sell it out again. You can go to Darlington. We're talking about Darlington. Darlington is Indianapolis of stock car racing. I mean, that track, when it started, it's been there all these years. It's just, it's the Gettysburg for me. That is probably the best track to watch a race on and see a race. That's a track that separates the men from the boys as far as drivers are concerned. The way it's laid out and got that groove up there against the wall, it's been that way from day one. That puts on the best show ever. I mean, you got to drive that track. If you go to racing somebody, you're probably going to crash. I've seen the best ones crash down there. I'm talking about David Pearson and Waltrip and just on and on and on, the best ones. And yeah, they was going to do away with it, but that never made sense to me. But you're talking about to let the boys be boys. They had a good thing going. You remember when Logano wrecked Matt Kenseth last year, and then Kenseth returned the favor at Martinsville?
Yep.
And it put them both out of the chase. But what did NASCAR do? Suspended Kenseth for a race or two and fined him. I mean, how ridiculous! And they didn't do nothing to Logano. And sometimes it looks like to me that they show favoritism towards the Penske outfit. But I don't know that. I have seen a Toyota be leading the race and another Toyota wreck like KB did and tear the wall down, and they don't throw the caution with about 40 laps to go. But if it's a Chevrolet out front and somebody crashes, before they hit the wall, they done got that caution flag in their hand ready to throw it, and they throw it. And that's pretty obvious throughout this year. Just, if you pay attention, you'll see little things like that. And it may be on up and up. I know they say it's for safety, but I sure would like to see the camera zero in on what they put on the track as far as why did they throw that caution if there's something really on the track.
Yep.
They don't do that. Sometimes they will if it's very obvious, but many times they don't do that.
Well, the thing that got me about that Logano and Kenseth incident, Bill, was, they jumped up and down NASCAR officials about, we're not going to retaliate, we're not going to allow this, we're not going to allow that. But you turn right around the very next weekend when they start showing all the promos and all the trailers, what led the way in every trailer they had?
That's right. They capitalized
It was
on
controversy.
Yeah.
Bring that back. Let them boys go at it. I mean, really and truly, I would pay money to watch two guys come out to say, let's take Martinsville, for example. Fill that bad boy full of dirt. If you got Kenseth and Logano that have been beating on each other all year long, they're mad at each other, they're scared to get in each other's way, forget that probation till the end of the year. Get them two boys in two cars, put them out there and say, okay, you've got 10 laps to take your aggressions out. Get out there and get it done. And bring back the steering wheel. And let them go at it. That would fill that place.
It's all about selling tickets, and that'd probably do it.
Well, I watch. I'm not going to say which racetrack it was. I'm not going to say who the two drivers were. But a few years ago, I seen a controversy, and we're up against the break. I'll tell this story and then we'll go to break. I seen a controversy at a racetrack where they were promoting two drivers who supposedly had this war going on. They couldn't stand each other. They didn't like each other. They were out to get each other, and they were throwing hissy fits at the racetrack. But yet, both of those guys kept their cars parked in garages that were side by side. They worked together at the same place. They went to lunch together at the same place every day. But come Saturday night, it was a controversy. And that's what sold tickets. It brought the fans in. They come in to see the fight, and it was just mad. It was like a madhouse, like you were talking about up there at Bowman Gray. But tell you what, Bill, we're on a commercial break. Hold your thought. We're going to come back, and we're going to do the last segment. We're going to talk about some more changes NASCAR could make. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the doctor, and my very special guest, Mr. Bill Blair, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
You are a waste. A loser. Everyone hates you. Why don't you just stay in your car and keep driving? I'm serious. Drive until you run out of gas, then get out of your car and walk until you find someone who doesn't think you're dumber than bricks. Could take a while, but at least all that walking might burn a couple of calories.
You may not witness bullying like this every day. Your kids do. They want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov to learn safe, simple ways your child can help stop bullying. Be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Results? We got your results right here. It's the Monday Night Results Show with the doctor exclusively on the PerformanceMotorsportsNetwork.com.
All right, welcome back. Real quick, congratulations to a guest we had on the show just a while back, Mr. Brian Sanders, driver of the Nitrochondriac Top Fuel Hydro boat, the Lucas champion this past weekend. He put a smoking on them. If you haven't checked out their page, go over there and check it out. Nitrochondriac Top Fuel Hydro. Awesome job he done this weekend. Now, Bill, we were talking a little bit earlier, about bringing racetracks back and getting away from the boring, monotonous crap of the cookie cutters and the 6-hour-long races and all that. I think your idea of bringing back Wilkesboro and some of these racetracks that have character, Darlington, like you were talking about, bringing these racetracks back and putting the onus of performance back on the driver instead of having a wind tunnel rocket with 4 wheels on it. I think that's probably one of the best ideas I've heard yet that NASCAR needs to take a look at. And I know that down in Daytona Beach and Charlotte, I know they're big fans of the show. They don't like to listen on Monday nights, but they always like to go back and catch it on the re-airs, and they want to sit there and pick my show apart. That's fine. That's cool. Do what you want to do, but mark it down. When you have a legend like Bill Blair telling you that something's wrong, and you've got fans out there that's throwing hissy fits left and right telling you something's wrong, it might be when you realize you're standing waist deep in a hole, it's time to quit digging. I mean, it don't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. But I think bringing back some of these racetracks and putting a challenge back in instead of seeing the same old crap week after week, I believe that would put a little fire under their butts, if you know what I mean.
Bet you they see it different than I do, because, in my opinion, when you've got to have concerts and gimmicks to get people to come, and then after showing all the concerts and gimmicks, then they have a race. To me, they got that backwards. I mean, if I want to go watch a race, I want to see a race. If I want to go see a concert, I go over here to Greensboro Coliseum and get me a seat and sit down, and it's air conditioned. It's just they looking at this deal different than I am. I've never seen nothing like that. And I know that Charlotte's always had the school bus jumping cars and all that crap, but to me, that ain't me, and I guess I'm from the old school, but nowadays they got to be something besides a race that they have, the concerts and all. You go to Bowman Gray Stadium when they got 18, 19, 20,000 people, they don't do that. You don't have to do that to have attendance, your full houses at these racetracks. And, I mean, Bowman Gray Stadium is a NASCAR track, and they go over and sit down and watch it for 2 or 3 weeks and watch how they do it. I don't know if it's by accident or not, but they fill it up every weekend. Now, I will say this, that if you go to certain sections over there, the same, for generations, the same families sat in the same seats. I mean, those people got it bad. They love their stock car racing. But what's happened around the country now, people don't feel like that anymore. It's just what we've been talking about. They're tired of it. So, I think you're right. And then we get back to, the current NASCAR. I just hope in 5-10 years from now there's still a NASCAR race, still stock car racing. And,
well, if the Francis have their way about it, when we've talked about this before, and I've mentioned it on my show once before, NASCAR here a while back, they laid all these people off. They were trying to affect the bottom line. They moved right, moved left, try to get all these little ducks in a row, and they want one of the networks, CBS or NBC or somebody. They want them to come in and for $1 gazillion billion buy NASCAR and take it over so that they don't have to worry about it. That kind of idiotic thinking is what has killed the sport. Instead of trying to get rid of it, and instead of trying to come up with a gimmick, why not just put a good race car on the racetrack, put good drivers out there, give them some personality, let them race on racetracks that's a challenge instead of going to the same cookie cutter week after week, and put on a show for the fans. Quit worrying about all this other garbage and put on a show for the fans, and the grandstands will fill up. I promise you.
Well, I think they would. I think the drivers would probably go along with it. I know a lot of these drivers love to drive on dirt. Harvick is a good dirt track driver. Tony Stewart, even Bubba Wallace is an exceptional good dirt track driver. He won it Eldora a year or two ago. But they're going to have to do something. I'm just give you my opinion of what, if it's my call, what I would look at doing. I feel sure that they're trying to come up with something, but on the other hand, sometimes I wonder if they really are. If they sell it, then I guess it will turn out to be a reality show, sure enough.
Yeah.
But, if you go to Bowman Gray Stadium, you can always go back to that to get an understanding of what really gets people in the grandstands, if ever. You want an education, that's the place to go. It's been there I guess it's the oldest track on the circuit, isn't it, that in Martinsville?
Yep.
and Martinsville's not doing what Bowman Gray does, and they don't fill it up no more. It's about half full. And Bowman Gray is year after year. But let's just hope that somebody takes control of NASCAR that has got some savvy, like the old man had. And I feel sure if Big Bill was back today, he'd kick some butt, you know. He wouldn't even bother to take no names. There'd be a bunch of people leaving from Daytona. It looked like, I don't know what it looked like, but it'd be a mass exit there on Bill France Boulevard, I guess. But anyway, it's what it is, and let's just hope for the best.
Well, you know, Bill, I think one of the things that and Tony Stewart mentioned this a couple of times recently while he was sitting out with his back injury. You know, he said, you look at back when Bill France was running the show, he said every Sunday, he said Saturdays during qualifying and what have you, practice, he said you would see Brian France or Bill France in the pits. He would be walking down through there, shaking hands, pressing the flesh, talking to the drivers. He said, when you look at Brian France, he said, I doubt very seriously Brian France has ever watched a race green flag to checkered flag. He said he don't know one car from another. He don't know none of the people in the pit area. He lives in a bubble. And I've called him brainless for years, and I call him Bubble Boy because he sits down there in Daytona Beach in his great big high polished office in a little bubble, reading his surveys that he wrote so that they turn out the way he wants them to, trying to rule the world with an iron fist. Instead, he needs to go back and look at what his father and his grandfather done for the sport and what they wanted, what their true vision was, and it ain't nothing like what Brian France is doing today.
Well, didn't they send him to Pepperdine College out in California?
Well, they might have sent him somewhere, but apparently he didn't learn much.
You know what they turn out there, don't you?
Fruits and nuts.
Educated idiots.
Yeah. I still laugh every time I read that article about Smokey Yunick. He's talking about Brian France. He says, my boy went to school with Brian France. He said, I always heard Brian France was an asshole. He said, my son confirmed it. So, it just, I always got a kick out of it. I thought that was funny. But I think that NASCAR really, instead of doing surveys, I think they ought to put Brian France with one of those vendor hats and a tray of peanuts and some soft drinks and let him walk through the grandstands for about 2 hours one day and actually do 2 hours worth of work. It'll probably take him 6 months to recover, but let him do a little bit of work and listen to what the fans are saying and pay attention to it because he's so out of touch with reality. He's out of touch with the fans, and NASCAR is showing it.
Well, Mitch, Billy France, that's how he got started with his daddy. He ran a concession stand. I can remember that, and just khaki pants, a white T-shirt on, and he's a good-looking young man, friendly guy, and you'd have to say, you go back and look at it now, he did a hell of a job, him and his daddy. And I guess where you and I, if we got a complaint, is to see what's happened in the past 10 years. Now, also, Mitch, I ain't going to blame it entirely on Brian France because times has changed. These people today, like I said a while ago, I guess the surveys has told them that they like entertainment, the new generation. That's why they got concerts. But that I think that the racing's so poor that to get them to come there, that they got, and maybe the race is not poor, they're just not gearheads. I mean, I enjoy some of the races, I'll have to admit, but some of them are boring. But to get me to keep on watching this stuff, it's going to have to change. My wife stays after me all the time. You're going to watch another damn race? I said, well. And so, she says, we need to be out here doing something while we still can and not watching all these races. You can tape them, then if they're any good, you can come back home and watch them. And we've done that. But, at some point in time, I am going to have to stop and get some stuff done. And the races are just not as interesting to me as they used to be. I keep seeing all this PC stuff and all the changes they make from week to week on aero packages and this fiasco they have at Daytona, Talladega. I just don't like that no more. get back to Boys and the Boys in 1971 when Allison and I'm talking about Bobby Allison and Richard Petty were having their feud. The grandstand was full everywhere you went. Bowling Gray Stadium, they raced over there, it was full. It went to Ona, West Virginia, it was full. But they were beating on one another. In fact, even at Wilkesboro, I'm thinking Maurice, the chief, he decked somebody that said something after the race to him he didn't like. But in fact, one time he decked Joe Gazaway, that was Bill Gazaway's brother. He said something to him he didn't like in the restroom. But it was a lot better then. They had real personalities, I'll tell you. And today is so policed. Everything is policed.
Yep.
And they got Rule 13. They got these new numbers for the different rules. I don't know what they're talking about, but I also understand, Mitch, that a lot of these fines are levied against remarks by people that the public don't know about.
Yep.
And I guess the fine money goes to the NASCAR Point Fund. It used to. I don't know where for sure it goes now, but they're fining or had been fining people that you didn't know about.
Well, I think it's they really need to reevaluate the way they're doing things, and I think it's one of those things where if they just wake up and listen to what they're saying, I think it would make a huge difference. And I look forward to maybe some of the changes. I ain't holding my breath, but it's getting close to it. I mean, it's getting close to whether they're gonna have to poo-poo or get off the pot, one of the two. And speaking of getting off the pot, we're up against the end of the show. Bill, buddy, I want to thank you for coming on, and man, it's always fun having you on. It's like a history lesson, and I just love it to death. And I can't wait for Okanichi in October.
Oh, it's going to be good. It's October the 1st. There'll be a lot of the NASCAR Hall of Famers there, and a lot of race cars there, and a bunch of good people to serve you there. When you drive into the gate down there, it's free to everybody. There'll be people there to assist you. It's going to be a fun Saturday, and then the banquet that night there at the barn. We'll have a catered event and guests there, and then some speeches by Rex White and the Curtis Turner family, honoring Curtis Turner and Ned Jarrett this year. Ned will be there to talk to people and sign autographs. The Allison's going to try to come. We've talked and reached out to a lot of the drivers of that era and some current drivers, and hopefully they'll be there. But it'll be a fun Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, I guarantee you.
Well, I look forward to it and making my way over there and seeing you. And I done been planning this trip out. I got me a Sunday fishing spot for Sunday on the way home, too. So I'm going to make it a weekend, and I'm going to have a good time. I might even have to call in dead on Monday morning. All right, Bill Blair, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to jump out here. I want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day coming up, and make sure that you take your father to the races somewhere this weekend. It don't matter if it's a dirt track, a drag strip, asphalt track, road course. It don't matter. Take your father out, spend some time with him, because fathers are the reason that we're all here. And everyone, happy Father's Day to each and every one of you. I want to invite you back next week. Got a great show lined up for next week. Still getting the dots on the I's and the crosses on the T on the guests, but we are still working on it, and we will have a great show lined up for you next week on the Monday Night Results Show. Check out my YouTube channel. We got all the shows are going to be going up there slowly but surely. We'll get them up there, and that way you can go back and listen to them. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Don't do nothing I wouldn't do. If you do, name it after me, or maybe name it after Bill Blair. It's been the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the Doctor, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network. See ya.
Y'all ready for this?
The Monday Night Results Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com, a member of the Scorpion Radio Group, Inc., and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the express explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either PMN or Scorpion Radio Group, Inc., the advertisers, or the marketing partners. If you would like to hear the results from your local track, or you are a track owner or a promoter and want us to cover your venue, give us a call during normal business hours, 717-749-0444. IM us on our Facebook page or email us at performancemotorsportsnetwork@gmail.com. Be listening again next week as we are talking results on the Monday Night Results Show with the Doctor. For the Monday Night Results Show, I'm Big Mike.